Alright, alright. First race of the year. This is, good old Frostie Toes series here in Central Ohio, racing at the Mid Ohio Sports Car Course. As you can see, we are already into the race. We're about 15 minutes, no, maybe 10 minutes into the race at this point. This is the Cat 3-4, and it's actually combined with the Cat 1-2-3 race because there were only maybe 7 or 10 entrants into the 1-2-3 race. So that made it interesting to try to figure out who was who and who mattered and who didn't. Yeah, so the reason we're already part of the way into the race is because the GoPro just didn't really work. It shut off or lost files or something, but it only recorded about a half hour of the race, and then it didn't record the rest of it, and then it randomly recorded a clip after the race. And yeah, it still had about an hour of battery life and recording time on the SD card, according to the camera itself. So that was disappointing, because most of the excitement was towards the end of the race. There was some good stuff in the chunk that was recorded here, though. So my goal in this race was to just surf as much as I could and go hard whenever I needed to. I'm not the type who's going to instigate an attack or anything, but I do like responding to them and closing them down. So this is the back straight section. Get going pretty quick without pedaling. It's really easy for people at the back to move forward in this section, but it's kind of in my opinion, it's kind of a bad move to do that, because there's nothing really to be gained. You get to the front, and then what? Now you have to pull. So you may as well, stay back and let the people who are ahead just keep doing their job. And I think at this point there are maybe a couple people who are up the road. I don't really remember because the GoPro screwed up, but I think there is a couple people up the road at this point. But I wasn't too concerned because we were moving pretty well. Like, when people were at the front, they were giving good pulls. Also, I'm drinking some coffee right now, and I kind of have to go to the bathroom. So this may be going on an adventure. Just kidding. There's Levi. And there goes other headwind, and as they came by, they said, "Levi, let's go." I was already pouncing on the move, but once they said, "Levi, let's go," I waited for Levi to pop out so that I could just get his draft instead. And as you can see, popped up to 800 watts there, center out 500, 450, and yeah, Levi actually got popped here. So I had to come around him and finish the job of closing this down, which was not trivial. So the reason I wanted to get on this was, once again, I think there were people up the road. I can't really think of any other reason that I would go for that move, except for I think Levi may have been in my 3-4 race. I don't remember. But if Levi was in the 3-4 race, then obviously I wouldn't want him to, get a free ride up the road with his Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3 friends. But anyway, there were 2 or 3 headwind guys who came with, so I didn't really feel inclined to do any work because, you know, they clearly wanted to close down the break so that they could get one of their guys into first place, basically. And since they had a whole team of riders, their goal was really to just get one of their riders to break away. And this happened over and over and over again, where I'd be sitting behind somebody and they would just lose steam and I'd have to come around them. Luckily, this sort of punchy stuff plays more to my strength than sitting on the front taking pulls. And yeah, so we just caught this. We just caught a group of 2 riders who had broken away early in the race. And the reason Headwind put in all that effort to catch them was because they were Cat 1 in the 1-2-3 race. Yeah, and I wasn't sure who was in the break, or I wasn't sure what race they were in, so that's probably why I jumped on with these guys. Otherwise, I would have been perfectly happy to let the 1-2-3s just go ahead, as long as all the 3-4s were behind. Let's see, who was in the break? Chase. Chase was in the break. So yeah, he's a 3-4 rider in my race who I would need to beat, basically. And they're going again. But at this point, I didn't really have a good way around these guys because it doesn't look that crazy coming through here, but riders tend to get really twitchy through those turns. So I took my opportunity to finally pass through there, put in my effort, come through this turn. Once again, a lot faster than it really seems since the track is so wide. And I'm putting in a dig up here, catching a little draft on this guy. Waiting for this guy to come by me and put in his dig. I latch on behind him. And I was really thankful that he came with me because I'm not sure I would have been able to close the rest of that. I really didn't expect there to be another attack as soon as we had latched on to the lead group. If I did, I would have moved forward and been ready for that. But now I can see that Chase is coming back, and you know, he's clearly done a lot of work. His body's looking wiggly. He's looking tired. So I'm not too concerned at this point now. The Headwind guys are happy the race is back together to some extent, so they're not really pushing at this point. But in the end, that guy on the right, the Headwind rider on the right, he ends up breaking away for the whole race, and he won the 1-2-3 race. That was sort of a, you know, it's not something that I cared about, and actually it played to my advantage in a way, I guess, since the Headwind rider was in the end up the road in the solo breakaway. The other Headwind riders weren't gonna, you know, instigate anything too serious, which meant the pace, while it was high for other reasons, it wasn't consistent, in an effort to catch the guy who will eventually break away. At least one of these Overland guys was in the 1-2-3 race. So there's this interesting aspect of racing at Mid Ohio, which is that there's like this on-ramp basically for cars to get on the track while being separated from cars that are already on the track. So you can sort of pick a line, and it ends up being a way that people start their attack up this hill. And this hill is a good place to attack, really, because there was a headwind from right to left here. So I'm hiding behind this guy 199 because it's a cross headwind from right to left. So if you attack and then stay all the way on the left of the road, even if somebody's sitting behind you, directly behind you, they're not really going to get a draft. So you can attack and the person behind you will be doing almost as much work as you. The guy in the black moving up on the left, he's a pretty strong rider. He did a lot of pulling to bring back some gaps, and he had a big motor, and I was really thankful for him. While I can, accelerate and accelerate the group, I can't hold a high speed. I just don't have that sort of power. No, I think at this point, maybe the one headwind rider who ended up winning and just doing the solo breakaway the whole time, I think he's up the road. And yeah, you can sort of see up there there's not much going on, and that's because they're letting him get a gap, I'm pretty sure. Meanwhile, my main concern is just staying on Chase's wheel. Any attacks that he does, I'm gonna try to follow, but I'm not really gonna instigate any myself. I'm happy to take a free ride from him. He's interesting because he's a really aggressive rider. He really likes to go for it, which makes the racing a lot more exciting. If it was just a bunch of people like me, the races would be probably pretty boring. But luckily there's people who are actually good at breakaways, so they instigate attacks and try to go for it. So you didn't actually have to brake for any of these turns on the course. However, there was such a drafting advantage on the downhill sections that you'd quickly run into the riders ahead of you, so you had to brake. Interesting thing about this corner, which you just saw right there, where you saw an aspect of it right there. We weren't really taking the fastest line through it by any means. However, when you're a cyclist in a group, sometimes it's faster and easier for you to take the slower line and just stay in the group than it is to take the faster line and then have to maybe eat some wind and adjust to people who are in the line that the group is taking. So what you saw before was I took at least what I think is the fastest line, but then I ended up getting pushed out because of the group just moving out naturally through their line. Some acceleration going on here. I saw that headwind rider going up on the left, and that piqued my senses. I was ready to go. So there's Travis just up on the right there. Another headwind rider. He's crazy strong. I don't know how he's so strong. Like, he probably weighs less than me because he's not as bulky as I am, like muscular in the upper body. Although I think his legs are bigger, so he might weigh about the same. But he can just lay on the power forever. Looks like we're about halfway through this. Yeah, again, this video is going to end at some random section of the race, and anything interesting that happened, or that was going to happen in this footage has already happened. So at this point, you're pretty much just watching to see yourself, you know, maybe to see yourself in the video somewhere. See what your pedal stroke looks like, see how cool you look on your bike. Yeah, with this Mid Ohio race, all the different category races pretty much go at the same time, so you end up lapping groups and you know, lapping dropped riders all the time, and it gets a little chaotic at points. For example, we caught the Cat 5 race when they had like half a lap to go, quarter lap to go, and so we had to we had to sort of slow down and let them continue ahead of us so that they could finish out their sprint and, you know, just finish their race. And luckily, all these guys everybody in this race is, you know, out here basically just to have a good time. There's money on the line, but there's no upgrade points on the line. It's really about practice and having fun and just finally getting out there and racing. So, you know, we all agreed, like, nobody's going to attack. Nobody in this race was going to take advantage of that situation and attack while we're all letting the Cat 5 riders go finish their race. So I saw those two guys going ahead just a second ago, but everybody else was still streaming forward pretty fast, so it didn't look like they were gaining any ground, so I didn't really worry about it. Now I'm letting all these riders pass me again. I'm gonna get a nice draft. So that number 79 in the pink, he was dropped either from our race or from another race, and then his teammate from Oberlin told him to hop on, which was definitely not cool. Like, I appreciate that this is a practice race, but this guy was totally on his limit, and he was not really safe to ride near. You know, he had already been dropped, so at least as far as I know. And I ended up being near him for a little while, and he was riding really sort of erratically. But with these turns, you're going so fast, and there's a lot of sort of off camber as well. The smallest little input that you give to your bike, or that you stop giving to it, will result in a huge movement of your bike, just because of all the inertia that you have, all the momentum that you have going through these turns. See, I mean, he's really, really digging, which is cool. Like, obviously, giving your all is awesome. But when you've already been dropped or something, and when you're going that hard, you're not totally present. I know from experience. So we're strung out here, and this is a good chance for a split to happen. When it gets this strung out, anybody who's just feeling a little bit weak, they don't have as much draft as they would with like a too wide pace line. So gotta be vigilant for gaps and people getting dropped. Which, by the way, this happened again later in the race, and I wasn't vigilant enough. And a gap opened up, and I didn't see it because I was back here, like I am now. And it opened up too far, and it was Travis, who's really strong, and Chase, who is pretty similar strength to me, but more of a TT style rider. So Chase, who was in my 3-4 race, broke away with Travis, who was in the 1-2-3 race. And, you know, there's no way I could catch Travis with him just riding on his own, let alone with somebody that he could rotate with for a few seconds. So that was that. It's something I could have easily latched onto, but I wasn't there. Now I was looking ahead when we had that little gap between us now. I was looking to see if anybody was making moves, but they're all just sort of sitting there. And then it flared out, and everybody slowed down. Nobody wanted to be at the front. See this little train coming on the left. I'm ready to hop on. Chase looked like he was trying to get over, but he didn't have any room. But then that just dies immediately. What a beautiful sunset. Alright guys, that's about it. A couple more turns of footage and then it's going to end very unsatisfyingly. Thanks for watching, if you did. Bye.